Indiana University of Pennsylvania, where his research focused on mindfulness in higher education. He's also a certified instructor for Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute, and he's facilitated wellness programming within the United Nations Foundation. He's a frequent keynote speaker. His work centers on belonging, leadership, but I think I've said too much because he simply has to be introduced as an activist for flourishing. So without further ado, I want to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Krosky.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you so much. And thank you for the call you gave for us to change not only ourselves, but the areas where we work. I appreciate that and appreciate the work you're doing. And thanks so much for inviting me here. I'm so grateful to be with you all today. And our bishop would love to say it's a great day in the kingdom. And it really is. Today's a great day. I want to thank you for sharing in the chat the things you're grateful for. I'm going to put another message in the chat, I hope, to see if you can think about something you've done that's nice for someone or something that you've seen someone else do nice for someone else. And part of that reason is because I hope to get your voices into this conversation today. And I'm here, with all you people, all you brilliant people from all around the world. So instead of good morning, I might sometimes say good moment. And I like to say make it a good moment, because those are the things that we have, our moments, just those things. And so if you think about it, again, in the chat, what's something nice you've done for someone, or something nice that you've seen someone do for someone else? Today, I'm going to share my comments. That'll be about 25 minutes or so. But I really hope for this to be an interactive, a collaborative conversation, maybe even a courageous collaboration. I'd appreciate your thoughts as we move along. After the 25 minutes of talking, I will be sharing some mindfulness practices that I enjoy sharing, as Larry said, with United Nations staff around the world. I just returned from Cameroon, and so it's often a wonderful thing to find that someone else, someplace else around the world, is also enjoying these practices that help to restore me and keep me capable. But we've got a couple questions in the chat. Thank you for those. Laughter is good medicine. But I want you to think about one more question. Who showed up for you? Who showed up for you when they didn't have to? Let's just let that question land for a minute. Who showed up for you when they didn't have to? And it's kind of like the appreciation someone shared, Matt, about seeing someone who pauses to help someone else. So if you think about that, who noticed you when you were trying not to be noticed, perhaps? Who listened when you were tired of explaining? Who believed in you before you could believe in yourself? Who made the call, sent the message, opened the door, stayed late, checked in, or simply sat beside you when life got heavy? For many of us, the reason we are here today is because somebody somewhere decided to be a neighbor. I was real fortunate growing up that so many people supported me in my growth and my development. And they may not have called it that. They may have not have called it being a neighbor. They may have called it doing their job, helping a client, helping a student, supporting a family, answering a call, just being professional. But something sacred was happening. A person cared. A person recognized someone on this long, winding road we're in, someone in need, and said, they're not too heavy. They're my neighbor. A person came close enough and did something for another person that might have been struggling. And that's where strong communities begin. Not in slogans, not in policies, not even in mission statements, right? Although we love to put them together. Strong communities begin in moments. A moment when someone says, I see you, you matter, you are not alone. We will figure this out together. And today I want to offer one simple idea. The world may not need any more good programs, What the world needs are good neighbors. I like to call them flourishing neighbors, because good, flourishing neighbors create strong communities. And before I go any further, I want to say something that I really think is important. I want to say thank you. Thank you for all the work that you do for people. Thanks to all of you who work in mental health. Thanks to educators, to therapists, case managers, counselors, advocates, nurses, direct care professionals, administrators, support staff, parents, caregivers, and community leaders. I was talking with a colleague yesterday, and we were talking about who are the educators on campus. And I and she agreed that it's everyone, from the janitor to the favorite person at the lunchroom. We're all educators. And I want to say thank you to all of you who are doing whatever work you're doing with the organization you're with. Thank you to the people who do work that might only become visible when something goes wrong. Thank you to the people who carry stories they can't share. Thank you to the people who sit with pain and still choose tenderness. It's what I like to call the quiet infrastructure of hope. Because roads and bridges matter, sure, of course. Buildings matter, policies matter, budgets matter, but there's another kind of infrastructure that holds a community together. The calm voice, the safe classroom, the trauma-informed team, the counselor who listens, the colleague who checks in, the leader who creates belonging, the neighbor who notices. That infrastructure is harder to measure, but when it disappears, everybody feels it. And I know it's not easy right now. Like we said, I work with the United Nations, and they've been cut so much, and I know others have too. And as a result, people are tired. Systems are stretched. Needs are complex. Staff are carrying more. Families are carrying more. Young people are carrying more. Communities are carrying more. And sometimes, when the need is great and the resources are limited, compassion itself can start to feel expensive. But I came today to remind you that your presence matters, your work matters, your neighborliness matters. Because sometimes what changes a life is not a perfect system. Sometimes what changes a life is one person who refuses to dodge by crossing to the other side of the road. I happened to be in church this Sunday, and the bulletin had this sign, to love one another, right? And every Sunday, this Sunday when I was at church, and every Sunday we confess that we have not loved our neighbors as ourselves. And that sat with me since I was a little child, right? And I like to think that it drives my behavior. The golden rule, the commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. One time I was in an interview situation and they said, "What's the golden rule?" And my mind froze for some reason because I'd heard it all my life. But I had recently heard this other phrase called the platinum rule: treat others as they want to be treated. And so somehow in my brain, I locked up. I didn't get the job. Things worked out, but it was funny that I forgot that golden rule. And this Sunday, the lay leader, Leanne, she led her homily with this question: why is it so hard to do love? I say doing love because love is a verb, and it's what we're made for. And Bell Hooks, I was reading Bell Hooks' book, all about love, and she agrees, right? She agrees that love is not an uncontrollable feeling or a passive noun. She defines love as an active choice, the will to extend oneself for the purpose of nurturing one's own or another's spiritual growth. Bell Hooks emphasized that to truly love, one must practice care, actively practice care, respect, knowledge, and commitment in daily actions. Because the goal of genuine community is to seek ways in which to live with ourselves and others in love and peace. And she goes on, and towards the close of the book says that we can begin the process of making community wherever we are. We can begin by sharing a smile, a warm greeting, a bit of conversation, by doing a kind deed, or by acknowledging kindness offered us. The love we make in community stays with us wherever we go. And with this knowledge as our guide, we can make any place we go a place where we return to love. And that brings us to a parable that probably you are aware of. Most of us know the story of the Good Samaritan, right? And just for a recap, there was a judgy group of religious experts, and one of them said, Jesus, what must I do to inherit eternal life? And Jesus pointed to the commandment to love your Lord, your God, and to love your neighbor as yourself. And the expert was like, yeah, but who's my neighbor? And Jesus replies with a story, of course. A man is traveling on the road from Jerusalem to Jericho. He's attacked, beaten, robbed, and left wounded on the side of the road. Two people, priests and people who are supposed to be helpful and important in the church, they pass by. They see him, but they keep moving. Then a Samaritan comes along, and that detail matters because they knew the Samaritan is not the expected hero. He's the outsider, the person from the wrong group, the person the original audience would have been trained to distrust. And yet, he is the one who stops. He sees the wounded man. He is moved with compassion. He goes to him. He bandages him. He carries him. He takes him to safety. He pays for his care. And he says, in essence, if it costs more, I'll come back. That's the I'll go the extra mile bit, right? And then Jesus asked that judgy group of priests, which one was a neighbor? And we know the answer is not the one with the right title, the priest, the one with the right background, the one with the right status, the one with the most time, the one who maybe looked like the guy who had been beaten. No, the answer is the one who showed mercy. And that's the shift. The question is not only who is my neighbor, the deeper question is how can I be a neighbor? How can I be a neighbor to the person in crises? How can I be a neighbor to the person whose story I do not yet understand? How can I be a neighbor to the student who keeps pushing people away because closeness has never felt safe? How can I be a neighbor to the colleague who is burning out quietly? How can I be a neighbor to the family that's lost trust in systems? And maybe one more question. How can I be a neighbor to myself so I can give from a full cup, so I still have something whole and honest to offer to others? When we think about that, the Good Samaritan didn't just feel pity. He practiced compassion. He interrupted his schedule. He crossed the boundary. He used his resources. He accepted the inconvenience and he created safety. That's neighborliness. Not sentiment, not politeness, not pity, not niceness. Neighborliness is compassion with feet. And that's why I love the word neighbor. And speaking of neighbor, maybe some of you are aware of this person, Mr. Rogers, right? When I met my wife, my lovely wife, I call her Sunshine, AKA Kathleen Elwood, she lived in Latrobe. And Latrobe is home to a hero we know as Mr. Rogers. And I don't know if you can see this, but this says Mr. Rogers' encouragements, right? Mr. Rogers, from Wikipedia, was a beloved American television host, Presbyterian minister, and children's advocate. Best known for creating and hosting Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood for many years, 1968 to 2001. He revolutionized children's programming by using television to teach emotional intelligence, empathy, and acceptance to millions of viewers. He loved the number 143. Each number represented the number of letters in the words, I love you. Interestingly, he also weighed 143 pounds and he swam every day to keep his weight at 143. I recently watched the movie A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood starring Tom Hanks. I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. Mr. Rogers had a practice of making whomever he was interacting with the main focus of his attention. It didn't matter if it was a child with autism that was nonverbal. It didn't matter if he was communicating with Koku the gorilla. That's a great episode to look up. It's on YouTube, and maybe I'll have a chance to share it later. And were he around today, you know, Mr. Rogers, he didn't welcome us to his platform. He didn't welcome us to his program or his brand. He welcomed us to his neighborhood. And that word was not accidental. A neighbor is near enough to notice, near enough to care, near enough to be affected, and near enough to respond. Mr. Rogers understood something our culture sometimes forgets, that People do not become healthier in isolation. Children do not flourish in isolation.